All right, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? You are now tuned into the Proper Perspective podcast. We're gonna get it started again for another edition. If you coming in or you watching it, whatever, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. What we're gonna do, we're gonna get into. So I was watching this discussion online. You probably heard of it. You watching? I was watching the Sarnetta platform the other day, and he had Chief Morning Thunder on there, and she was explaining um why she knows she's Aboriginal, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. You want to call yourself Aboriginal, that's fine. But the thing that got me why I'm doing this piece in the Aboriginal argument that she was making, so she's saying that Black people are not African, Black people are the real Indians, this whole little line of thinking. So I'm gonna share my screen and play a little part of it, and then I'm gonna come back. So just take a listen.
This is Chief Powhatan. He is the chief of supposedly Pocahontas in Virginia. And this, as you can see, is what we call today a Negro, a Naga. When I say Naga, I mean the N-word. That's Chief Powhatan of Virginia. And on the right is the emblem of America. We were empowered before these people came here. We are the ones that they saw when they came here. And me being chief and knowing this and learning this in this community amongst my tribal brothers and my brothers in the YouTube channel, we need to get our brothers that have been indoctrinated. They've been told that they were African by this society. Our parents never told us that we came home over here on slave ships. And we got to help our brothers that have been indoctrinated to believe that they're African.
All right, so I'm gonna come on back. Stop sharing my screen. So all right, so I'm back. So you heard her little spiel. And the thing that gets to me, or what I'm gonna talk about or whatever. Now, so you saw the pictures, right? So, she get on this platform, they get on these platforms, they got their own platforms, what have you. So they get up here and they try to, even when they try to look or come off as professional, even when they try to, so they put together PowerPoint presentations and they show you pictures. And it's like, okay, that's fine. It's fine to show pictures. Having PowerPoint presentation, that's great. You need to do that. However, so they show you pictures and then they just start talking and telling you all this information. So she shows this picture and you see, okay, so it's a picture of what looks like a Black Indian. She says it's Chief Powhatan. And she says the other picture is the emblem of America. She don't give you a source. She don't give you a link. She just show you this picture and she tells you what it is. So she's the narrator. So she is the source. And so it's like, okay, so yeah, she sounds like she sounds reasonable. She sounds like she talking some sense, because we all know it's been a lot of falsehood that's been provided throughout the educational system. So anybody that says, well, you've been lied to, well, of course, yeah, we all know we've been lied to, but that doesn't mean that you're telling the truth. So what I do is I do research just like anybody else. So I go looking for this picture of Chief Powhatan. And so I'm like, okay, because if it's a real picture, I ought to be able to find it on Google. So I go looking for this picture of Chief Powhatan, and I find the picture. And so I'm like, okay, now I find the picture. Now where I find the picture I don't find too much. I find like fakery. So this is what I'll say. I call it fakery. So I find a picture. Guess where I find it? I find a picture on Twitter. I find a picture on TikTok. I find a picture on Pinterest, which is fine. I mean, we all use social media, and we use social media in a way to try to put information out there. But the thing is, when you start finding pictures, and the only place that you can find the pictures is on other social media platforms, that's sort of like, okay, something's kind of fishy here. So you got to do a deep dive. Now, some people might not know this. I assume a lot of people know it. I don't know, maybe. But so especially if you're on your computer. Now, I think it can be done if you're on your phone, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But if you're on your computer, you can right click a picture that you see, and you'll get a window, you'll get a menu. And in that menu, one of the options in the menu will be search for the image on Google, or search for the image with Google. So Google will then find all the places that that picture has been used. Then here's the thing: when you do a search for this picture of Powhatan, what you end up is find, like I said, you find it on Twitter, you find it on Pinterest. You know where you don't find it. You don't find it on anything that is officially orientated around Native Americans or Aboriginals. You just find it as a picture being spread across. But if you do a deep search, what you end up finding, and I'm gonna share my screen again, because like I said, I found the picture on Twitter, basically doing the same thing. Somebody on Twitter posted, and then they tell you this is Powhatan, and they'll even tell you, you can find this picture in the Virginia Museum of History in Richmond, Virginia. That just so happens, and maybe that's one reason why it stood out to me a little bit more. It just so happens, basically, like connected to Richmond, Virginia. That's like my hometown, so to speak. So I'm like, oh, the museum up the street. Maybe I need to go. I need to go take that. I need to go take a look. So I'm looking, and so let me see. Let me share my picture. Let me share my screen. And so, like I said, I find this picture, and I click on it, try to blow it up. And again, this little narrative about this being Powhatan. Like, so it's interesting. They can show you the picture of the Indian, Native American, Aboriginal, however you so, but they never want to show you, if you, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but they like to show you the top of the picture, but they don't want to show you the base. It does look like it's in a museum. Now, anybody that's been in museums, you know, when they got these statues, somewhere at the base or along the side, they're gonna have a little story, and they're gonna tell you something about who created it, what it's a representation of. Now, disingenuous people just take the picture and then they create their own narrative. So that's the problem I got with people who make these arguments and claims. They do this little footloose, fancy, shuffle and jiving type thing. They show you pictures and they create their own narrative. So again, you see this picture. Now I go deep dive and I find on the Virginia Indian Archive, they tell you that there's something called a cigar store figurine. And a cigar store figurine is basically a statue carved and painted. It's not a statue of a real Indian. It's a statue that somebody created. And a lot of times you'll see them in cigar stores. Literally, that's where it came from. That's where it comes from. They're putting somebody made up the statue, and they sit the statue inside cigar stores. So if you are a cigar aficionado and you go to cigar stores, you might be able to weigh in on this, at least at a certain point in time in history. they were filled with these cigar store Indians. It was almost like a joke. Everybody knows they're fake. They know they don't have anything to do with the actual Native Americans. So again, so what you find out is this picture here is a cigar store Indian statue. Now, again, so she wants to claim that it's a picture of Powhatan. But when you Google a picture for Powhatan, you get somebody that looks like this, which is far from what this looks like. If you go Powhatan statue, looks like a black person. You'll get, like I said, you'll get this picture. And again, where is it? It's on Pinterest. So somebody else just shares it. But you never get like official agencies and organizations that show the same thing. The National Park Service has a picture of an emblem of Powhatan, but it looks nothing like the cigar store Indian. Everywhere you go looking for a picture of Powhatan, you get information that looks nothing like the made up stuff that they come up with. So let me see. I'm gonna stop the share and I come back. So again, that's my biggest thing is, you know, these people come up with these arguments, and it's not that I'm against the argument. I'm against the way in which they use information, they use pictures, they use faulty information to further their argument. Now, if you are disingenuous with the pictures, it's almost like going to school. You know, if you're told to do a project and you present this project, well, your teacher's going to grade you on the information provided, and your teacher's going to grade you on the media, the imagery, the type of presentation, and the information and the pictures and materials that you use in your presentation. So now, if you're disingenuous with the imagery, if you just grab stuff because it helps support your idea, but it has absolutely nothing to do with, or it actually contradicts everything you're saying, that report ain't gonna do too well. And so that's the thing. I'm like, okay, so if you have if you got information that will actually verify your claim, then why not use the actual legitimate information? Later on in it, in that presentation, she does this. Y'all see this? I got all the documentation. I got all the documentation. That's what she does. So she just, she grabs this folder and she shows you. She don't show you what's in the folder. She don't pull out any papers and throw it into the camera. She just lets you look at this huge folder and say, I got all the documentation to prove it. But she don't go through none of it. And so I'm like, again, you making this argument. You've already been caught using fraudulent imagery. And then to further validate yourself, you show a giant booklet of papers. And you say, I have all the documentation. Well, anybody can have a stack of papers. That ain't proving nothing. But so that's my biggest thing with this whole. And it's just people every day. It's like every day there's a new person getting online talking about Black people are not African. Black people don't come from Africa. The slave trade never happened, or the slave trade happened in reverse. And it's like, okay, this might make for an interesting topic of conversation. But then when you ask them for proof, verification, documentation, they got nothing. They start dancing in circles with their words. And it's like, okay, my thing would be like this. If you're gonna make this argument, at least wait till you got all your ducks in a row. Don't just jump out there with one little smidgen of information, and then as soon as someone challenges you, you look like an idiot. You don't have anything to stand on. That's my thing. I'll come back later on another piece. If you feel what I'm saying, let me know. Drop a comment, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe, and just stay tuned because I'll be doing. I'm getting into the process a little bit more, so I'll be doing longer broadcasts, and I'll be going live and whatnot. So, Proper Perspective podcast, pod class, however you prefer. Thanks for tuning in.